Yeptyn Barbarossa and the Oppression of History. For those of you who have seen Johnny Depp's famous Hollywood movie Pirates of the Caribbean, this name and character will not be new to them. The film portrays the character as a subversive and scheming opportunistic pirate. But very few people know that Captain Barbarossa was not only a legendary character but also a mujahid and emir of the naval forces of the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Caliph Salim called Emir al-Barbarouj from Albania and showed him the letters written by Muslims from the narrow and dark prisons of different churches in Spain and entrusted him with the mission of rescuing these Muslims in the journey from the coasts of Turkey in the east of the Mediterranean Sea to the coasts of Andalusia in the west of the Mediterranean Sea. The naval forces of many Christian states, including Italy and Portugal, were hindered under the strategy. It was decided that Emir al-Barbaba would lead the naval forces and take them to Spain, where, after releasing the Muslims from these prisons, they would be taken out from there after the Maghreb and taken to the Muslim state of Algeria in Africa, so that there would be no chance of any kind of fight on the return from the Christian navy, and these Muslims could be brought back safely by land route. For this purpose, Barbarouj sent his brother Hayreddin Barbarossa to Algiers, where his mission was to defeat the pro-Christian Muslim rulers. Barbarouj had to change his strategy due to various reasons, and he reached Algiers with his brother Hayreddin Barbarossa, where a Muslim ruler, under the siege of a city called Tlemcen, betrayed him and invited the Crusaders to attack from the rear. The Turkish and Algerian forces, under the leadership of Barbarouj, postponed the martyrdom instead of surrendering, and thus Barbarouj was martyred at this place. For several days, in the Christian celebration, Barbarouj's head was carried in the streets of Andalus, and the voices of happy marriages continued to be heard from the churches. The command was then handed over to Hayreddin Barbarossa, who organized a fleet of his own and defeated the Portuguese and Italian forces in the Mediterranean. Barbarossa was given this title by the Italian army, which means red-bearded. Then Barbarossa attacked Tunisia and Algeria and cleansed these areas from the occupation of Christians. When Pope John Paul II received the news of Barbarossa's exploits in the Vatican, the Pope ordered a joint fleet of all Europe to defeat Barbarossa. Undoubtedly, it was the largest naval fleet in human history up to that time, with 6,000 warships. In contrast, Barbarossa had 1,200 ships in his fleet. The clash between the two armies took place at Parviso on September 28, 1538, in which Barbarossa, showing great skill and bravery, defeated an army 5 times his size and sank the Christian fleet. The situation was that the commander of the Christian navy, Andrea Doria, escaped on a small boat and saved his life. Then Barbarossa made successive attacks on the coastal areas of Andalusia and saved 70,000 Muslim children, women, and elders from the atrocities of the church. As a result of Barbarossa's conquests, the Mediterranean Sea, which was the only trade route between the east and the west, remained in the possession of Muslims for 300 years. States like Great Britain, France and Holland, etc., continued to pay taxes to the Ottoman Empire for passing their ships from here during this period. You may be surprised to know that the first American president, George Washington, paid a huge tribute to the Muslims to convince this naval force to agree to an agreement not to attack the United States. This treaty is the only treaty in American history spanning nearly 2 centuries that has been signed in a language other than English. This agreement was also unique in that the U.S. government was obliged to pay regular taxes to another state every year. It is a pity that we even get to hear the mention of many of our heroes from outsiders, and that mention also presents such a distorted face that we hate these names. When nations start hearing their history from others, it is not surprising that this happens. If you like Yeptyn, then subscribe this channel, comment and like.